his own people, somebody that has threatened to destroy the United States. Just last week he put out a video showing the Capitol getting destroyed by North Korean fighters. How could he be honored to meet with Kim Jong-un?
Well, the president understands the threat that North Korea poses, and he will do whatever is necessary under the right circumstances to protect our country from the threat that they pose.
How
So,
would that be an honor?
well, Jonathan, I guess because he is still a head of state, so it is sort of there's a diplomatic piece to this, but the bottom line is the president's going to do what he has to do right now. He's building a coalition in the region to isolate North Korea, both economically and diplomatically, to get the threat, to take that threat down. But that is his number one priority right now, is protecting this country and our people.
What did he mean when he called him one smart cookie, or a pretty smart cookie?
Well, I think his point was he went over this in the interview, that he assumed power at a young age when his father passed away, and there was a lot of potential threats that could have come his way, and he's obviously managed to lead a country forward despite the obvious concerns that we and so many other people have. He is a young person to be leading a country with nuclear weapons, and so. That set aside, I think the president recognizes the threat that he posed and is doing everything he can to isolate that threat and to make sure that we bring stability to the region. Margaret.
Sean, on North Korea and then on Philippines. On North Korea, both with the president's comment on Kim Jong-un and what Secretary Tillerson said, you seem to be making the offer that we could have direct talks with North Korea. Who's going to be leading those?
Please. Yeah, I think
the White House?
I think that the key part of the president's statement was under the right circumstances. And that is the key. And those circumstances do not exist now. This is consistent with what Secretary Tillerson said the other day. But I think that if North Korea continues down a degree of provocative behavior, then those circumstances will never be there. But we want to hold out the possibility that if North Korea were ever serious about completely dismantling its nuclear capability and taking away the threat that they pose both to the region and to us, that there's always going to be a possibility of that occurring. That possibility is not there at this time.
Who would lead that? Is that
Well,
the White House or the State
we're
Department?
not. We're so far away from that possibility existing. To start identifying an individual would be highly premature.
Philippines. When you have been asked about President Duterte and his human rights record, you continue to say the effort here is to isolate the Philippines from North Korea. Part of this coalition to isolate
also
North Korea.
build a
Are you suggesting that the Philippines has some sort of inappropriate contact with North Korea? Are you suggesting that we are requesting greater access perhaps to their military bases? What is it exactly?
Well, I think there's an economic piece to this as well. And I'm not going to go into, that's part of the reason that I think the president wants to meet with him. And I'm not going to get ahead of their discussions, but I would suggest to you that there are multifaceted ways and areas in which not just the Philippines, but other countries in the region can help play a role, both economically, diplomatically, and otherwise, to help deter the threat that they pose.
Are you suggesting, though, that they are trading or conducting some kind of
No, I'm not going to,
financial
like I said.
When you say economic peace, that's what I just want to clarify.
Right, and again, I'm just going to let the president will have an opportunity to speak with him about those objectives. At this time, I'm not going to get ahead of that discussion. Glenn.
Sean, two quick related questions. First of all, you just described Kim Jong-un as somebody who led his country forward at an early age. The president has invited Duterte, who, as Annie pointed out, has talked about assassinating journalists. The president put out a statement after Erdogan won his referendum, congratulating him. He said kind things about Putin during the campaign, said kind things about Saddam Hussein. Does the president have a thing with these totalitarian leaders? Does he admire something about the way these guys conduct themselves?
No, the president, clearly, as I've said, understands the threat that North Korea poses. Having someone with the potential nuclear capability to strike another country, and potentially our country at some point in the future, is something the president takes very seriously. And so the idea that he is doing everything diplomatically, economically, and militarily to consider every way to prevent that threat from taking on the United States is something. I understand that. Unfortunately, those are the neighbors. There's certain things. Those are the countries in the region. Those are the countries that can be helpful as we move forward to try to prevent the threat that they pose.
Wait, one follow-up question. On Sunday, Chief of Staff Priebus, talking to this gentleman right here, said, with respect to the libel laws and the First Amendment, quote, talking about news outlets that printed false articles, quote, I think It's something that we've looked at. How that gets executed or whether that goes anywhere is a different story. Is that a project that is currently being worked on by the council's office? Can you just tell me the status of that? Who is pursuing that?
I think the Chief of Staff made it very clear that that is something that is being looked into substantively and then both logistically how it would happen. But that's nothing new. It's something the President talked about on the campaign trail.
Is the council actually
I'm not,
investigating
I
this?
will not go into, but I just tell you that it's being
I want to ask you to clarify something else the President said. He said, I don't stand by anything. How is the American public supposed to digest that, supposed to trust what the President says when he himself says of his own comments, I don't stand by anything?
What are you referring to?
It's in the CBS interview with John Dickerson in the Oval Office.
I need the more context.
It was about wiretapping. He was asked to, if he still believes President Obama is a bad or evil guy, do you still stand by those comments? And the President said, I don't stand by anything.
No, that was a long back and forth exchange, and that's why I'm asking for the context. But I think the point is he clearly stands by that. That's something that he made very clear if you look at the entire back and forth.
Sean, two questions on the Philippines. First, is President Trump comfortable with the leader's support of extrajudicial killings of drug users in the country?
Obviously, there's a human rights component that goes into all of this. And so it's a balance. We want to make sure that our country, our people are protected. This isn't a simple yes or no kind of situation. You've got a country in North Korea that possesses a nuclear weapon and is looking for the appropriate delivery system to potentially do harm. I think the President recognizes that the number one priority is the protection of our people, the safety of our people, and the safety of the people in the region. And so it's not just a question of either or. It's a question of priorities and balance. There's a lot that the President talks to these leaders in private about. And I think you saw that case in Egypt, where sometimes that kind of diplomacy, privately talking about them and building a relationship, can achieve results, not just for our people, but for their people, and discussing how the human rights issues. But I think that it would be a mistake to assume that the President, because we don't put out statements publicly chastising leaders at every call, means that the President's not, hold on, let me answer the question. I think the President understands the value of it, but he understands the balance. And the reason that the President is building an effective coalition and is getting results around the globe and reasserting America's place is because he understands the type of diplomacy and the type of negotiating and the type of deal making that actually gets real results for our country. So I think it's not a balance, it's a balancing act, but the President's getting real results. Cheryl.
Second question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Looking at, there are three open patents with the Philippines government, one from Trump trying to get Trump patented, two from Ivanka Trump for her clothing line. How do you respond to concerns about potential conflicts of interest with the leader of the Philippines?
I think the President and Ivanka have done everything in compliance, made it very clear, and I would refer you to the Trump Organization. Cheryl.
I just want to clarify something you said to Zeke. Is there a possibility that the President would not sign this spending agreement?
I mean, he's very pleased with the priorities, but I just want to, let's wait till it's presented to him. But he is obviously very pleased with how his priorities were addressed in the CR, and I have every expectation that he would sign it. But let's wait till it's on his desk.
Are you still on track to issue the full fiscal year 18 budget? Is it mid-May, or do you have a date for that?
Up to you. My understanding was it was still mid-May, but I'd want to consult with Director Mulvaney first. Jim.
Boss? Thanks, Sean. Just wanted to first ask, what's your expectation and what's your hope for the meeting with President Abbas on Wednesday? And secondly, is the President still considering moving the U.S. Embassy to Georgia, and will that be discussed?
That is still being discussed by staff. And then what was this first question? I'm sorry.
The first question is your expectations going forward. What
Obviously,
do you hope from this
the
meeting?
President's
Do you think
ultimate
it'll
goal
move forward?
is to establish peace in the region. And so I think he's going to, that's obviously the goal and the discussion that he's going to have with the head of the Palestinian Authority. But there's, that's going to be a relationship that he continues to work on and build with the ultimate goal that there's peace in that region between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Sean, Alexis.
I follow up on infrastructure. The President has been talking about a major infrastructure package for more than a year in the campaign, but it doesn't seem very clear right now what the mechanism is for the construction of whatever it is that he wants to push forward. He talked about maybe attaching it to the reconciliation package for health care. He talked about maybe doing that with the tax package. Can you update us on is that still very preliminary in its invention? Does he have clear ideas, and what's the mechanism and timing to get that done?
I think he does. He's been working on that with his both economic and policy team. But this week we're a little busy with the CR and healthcare. He laid out the tax package last week, but it is clearly still up there on the priority list. Let's get through this week, and then hopefully have some additional details moving forward. But he has been very clear that that infrastructure package is something that he wants to get done and get moving. This year, yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's just a question of when he wants to announce it. But I think for this week, we're pretty focused on getting the government funded for the last 5 months of 2017 and getting the health care done as soon as